Okay, so you're new to the US. You are juggling a lot. A new home, a new job, and a whole bunch of new numbers. Social Security, tax IDs. It can feel like a maze, but don't worry. In the next few minutes, we're going to give you the map. Let's break it all down.
Let me tell you a story that happens all the time. Meet Raj. He's here on an H-1B work visa with his family. Tax season rolls around, and they just assume his wife, who's on an H-4 visa, can just go get a Social Security number and find a job. But it's not that simple. And bam, they've just hit a huge bureaucratic wall.
And this puts Raj's family, and honestly thousands just like them, right at this critical question. You've got your work visa, you're all set up, but what about your spouse? Is their ability to work and get that super important SSN just an automatic part of the package?
Well, the answer is a big, firm no. And this, right here, is one of the biggest myths out there. Believing that an H-4 visa automatically means you can work can get you into some serious legal and financial trouble. So let me be super clear, the visa itself is not a work permit. So why do so many people get this wrong? Well, it all comes down to understanding what a Social Security number, an SSN, really is. Because it's so much more than just an ID number. At its absolute core, an SSN is a work number. Its main job is for employers to report your earnings to the government. That's how they track what you've earned for things like retirement benefits down the road. So what's the bottom line here? No work authorization, no SSN. Simple as that. Now, take a look at this. This slide should come as a huge relief for a lot of newcomers. The government is really clear. You do not need a Social Security number for these everyday essentials, getting a driver's license, enrolling your kids in school, or even getting health insurance. It's a common point of anxiety, but you've got other ways to prove who you are. Okay, so if your spouse or your child can't get an SSN, how in the world are you supposed to file your taxes? This is where another number comes into play. The ITIN. An ITN is purely 100% for tax purposes. That's it. The IRS gives these out to people who need to file a U.S. tax return but aren't eligible for a Social Security number. Just think of it as a special tool that lets the IRS process your paperwork and literally nothing more. And this slide just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the SSN, that's your key to employment. On the right, you've got the ITIN, your key to filing taxes. You cannot use it for work. It's a simple picture, but man, it's a critical difference to get right. Which, of course, brings us right back to our big question. We know the H-4 visa isn't a work permit on its own, but we also know some H-4 spouses are working. So how does that happen? The answer is this one document that changes absolutely everything. To get the right to work, an eligible H-4 spouse has to apply for and get what's called an Employment Authorization Document, or an EAD. It's the EAD, not the visa, that's the real key here. But let me tell you, getting this authorization is not a walk in the park. As you can see right from the official source, the rules for who qualifies are very, very specific. Basically, it means the main H-1B worker has to be pretty far along in the green card process. So this isn't something you can just apply for right when you arrive. Okay, so let's get practical. Let's say you are eligible and you have that work authorization in your hand. How do you actually get your Social Security number? So you've basically got 3 ways to do it. The smartest ways, and you can see them here as steps 1 and 2, are to just apply for the SSN at the same time you're applying for your visa or your EAD. Trust me, it'll save you a huge headache. But if you don't do that, no worries. You can always go in person to a Social Security office once you're here. Now, if you do go in person, you have to prove 2 things: who you are and that you're legally allowed to work. You have to bring your original documents. And I mean the originals, no photocopies allowed. That means your passport, your I-94 arrival record, and of course that all-important EAD card. And hey, here's some really great news. Applying for a Social Security number and the card itself costs you exactly $0. That's right, the government fee for this is nothing. It's totally free. All right, we have covered a ton of ground, so let's boil it all down to the key things you absolutely need to remember. This table really makes it crystal clear. The H-1B visa holder, they can work, so they need an SSN. An H-4 spouse without a work permit, an EAD, they can't work, so they need an ITIN for taxes. But as soon as that same spouse gets an EAD, they can work and now they can get an SSN. And the kids on an H-4 visa can't work, so they'll also use an ITIN. See how that works? Look, if you remember just one single thing from all of this, let it be this right here. Work authorization is the key that unlocks a Social Security number. That's it. That's the whole game. And there you have it. You now have the map to get through this U.S. number maze. So the next move is yours. Based on what we've just talked about, what's the right first step for your family? Is it getting an ITIN lined up for tax season? Or is it starting that journey toward an EAD? Knowing the difference really is half the battle. Thanks for sticking with me.